Chapter 6098. Mai Ching nodded and said, "It is indeed inappropriate not to invite him. But it's not appropriate to invite him either. After all, he is a man with a family. When inviting him, it must be stated on the invitation that he and his whole family are invited. But when I think of his wife, I can't help but feel dizzy. To be honest, I really don't want to have anything to do with that woman anymore. So this matter is a dilemma. I can't clearly tell Jacob that he is the only person to be invited, right? If this reaches Elaine's ears, I don't know how much trouble it will cause." After saying that, she looked at Pollard and asked, "What do you think?" Pollard smiled and said, "I can't give you an idea on this matter. But what you just said is right. If you want to invite him, you really have to do it. His whole family, and with his wife's character, this matter will have endless consequences." After saying that, Pollard thought for a moment and said seriously, "Mai Ching, you should consider this matter yourself. No matter what you decide, I will 100% support it." Mai Ching nodded and said, "Okay, let's wait and see what happens. I will send a message later to ask him what he thinks. I guess he is also afraid of causing complications. If he decides not to come, then we won't send him an invitation." Pollard asked, "What if he decides to come?" Mai Ching thought for a while and smiled. "I think the possibility is slim. I still know him. He is very afraid of his wife. He most likely doesn't want Elaine to know about this kind of thing. If I let him think about it, he most likely won't come. But let's leave this matter alone until I ask." After understanding what he meant, let's move on. I don't plan to invite my old classmates from Aorus Hill. I met them once at a class reunion before and they all loved comparison and were too exaggerated. I don't want to have anything to do with them. Too much involvement, but the members of the same team we went to Korea to exchange with were quite decent people. At the beginning, these were the people who said that if we get married, we must invite them to a wedding banquet, and we must talk. Yes. Pollard nodded and said, "The tone is basically set like this. Apart from Charlie, the people who will be invited are our respective colleagues and teammates from the exchange in Korea. Ask Jacob what he thinks." Pollard said, "Let's continue talking about what happens after the wedding. I'll tell you what I think first. If you have any objections, interrupt me at any time." Mai Ching nodded, holding her chin and looking at him. She smiled and said, "Go ahead, I'll listen." Mai Ching's eyes were bright. Pollard was a little embarrassed by her look. He turned around and took a sip of ice water before continuing. "What I want to do is wait until the wedding is held. After that, we will go to the United States for our honeymoon first." After saying that, he looked at Mai Ching, waiting for her reply. Mai Ching still held her chin, looked at him with a smile on her face, and said with a smile, "I have no problem, you continue." Pollard nodded and said, "Let's go to New York as our first stop. After all, the transportation in New York is relatively slow. Conveniently, when we arrive in New York, first go meet old colleagues and friends who started the business. I happen to have many old friends on Wall Street. After visiting colleagues and friends, we can also go to Wall Street to visit my friends. And then we will rent a car and go to New Haven. After all, New Haven is close to New York. After we arrive, we will meet the old classmates at Yale. Finally, you will accompany me to Stanford to meet my old classmates. If we keep to the schedule, we can be done in 6 or 7 days. For the rest of the holidays, we can go to an island with a warm climate to relax and unwind." Mai Ching asked curiously, "Why not go to Stanford as the first stop? It is closer to the West Coast from Aorus Hill. Wouldn't it save more time if we go to Stanford first, then New York, and then go to New Haven as the last stop?" Pollard looked at Mai Ching affectionately, and said with a smile, "Back to the United States with my wife, the first stop I must go to the place where you lived first. Just to accompany you back to your parents' home." Mai Ching knew Pollard's intentions for her, which were not only reflected in the big aspects of marriage and love, but also in every small detail in life. She was moved in her heart and said with a smile, "From now on, you will be the head of the family. I will leave the decision-making to you. I will listen to you." After that, she asked again, "You said you would spend the rest of the holiday? Do you have any good ideas for an island with a warm climate?" Pollard said, "We are going to the United States first this time. So it is suitable to choose an island between the United States and China. I originally wanted to go to the Maldives, but it's too far to fly from San Francisco to the Maldives. It takes at least 24 hours. What do you think of Palau? It's relatively close to China and can save a lot of time overall. What do you think?" Maiqing smiled and said, "I said you are the head of the family. So since you think Palau is suitable, then hurry up and book the flight tickets. And I will pick out some nice swimsuits tomorrow."